Thank you. We are in the process right now. We're just about ready. We are now recording and we will be going live on Facebook in just a moment. One last housekeeping piece of information for this evening. We will not be able to answer questions due to the high volume of people who will be on this informational webinar this evening. However, at the very end, we will have more information on how you can ask questions that you still have. We have also sent a communication out to all of our elementary school families this evening that has an in-depth safety and learning plan and additional information as well. So Dr. Rice and Mrs. Wolowitz, I will leave it in your hands. If you need anything, I'm here to back you up.
Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate it very much. I'm assuming that everyone can hear me. Get a thumbs up. All right, thank you. First, let me thank everybody for being on the call this evening. I know there is a slightly more urgent nationally televised event this evening, but that just speaks to your dedication to your kids' education. So thank you for making time for us. I also want to thank and acknowledge our board's effort in charting the course for our district and helping guide us through some of the most challenging times. I know we have several of them on the call, and I'm going to ask them to wave and introduce themselves if they have a few words. I'm going to start with our board president, Sabrina Rodriguez.
Hi all, just really nice to see you and thank you for being here. We hope we're able to answer all of your questions this evening, but continue to reach out if we aren't able to accomplish that.
Hi, this is Matt Alvarez. Appreciate all the feedback we've been getting through emails, through messages, even social media. It's trying times for everybody in our country. We're hoping that the outlook of what you're going to see tonight will make you feel secure that if you do send your students back to school, that will be safe and we'll be doing the best job that we can do. So thank you again for all your support.
Thanks, Matt. Jerry, Velma, or Jackie, I don't see you, but I assume you're here somewhere.
Dr. Rice, I'm not sure that they're on quite yet.
Okay. Well, if they come on while I'm talking, if you can point them out, maybe we'll shift gears and give them a minute as we go through this. In addition, let me take a minute to thank Ms. Wolowitz and Dr. Bayless and Marianne and their whole team for putting together tonight's event. I also want to call out our translators and our ASL interpreters for all the great work that they do making tonight's event more accessible to our community. So thank you everybody for working so hard to put this together. I want to take a minute to acknowledge the amazing work of our teachers and support staff who back in March got thrown a major curveball and asked to implement an entirely different instructional program and have responded with every bit of energy and passion they can to serve your kids well. So kudos goes out to our teachers and our support staff out at the sites. Also want to take a minute to thank and recognize our teacher and support staff union leaders, Carol Peak and Dan Nelson, who are working with us extremely collaboratively to make sure that we have all of their questions answered, and also that when we do come back, it's as safe as possible for all of our employees. And we appreciate that partnership that we have with them. Finally, I want to thank our site and district leadership team who have worked really hard to put together a detailed and comprehensive plan that you should have received, the elementary school families for sure, which covers everything from safety and cleaning protocols to screening and testing protocols, transportation, nutrition services processes, and of course, the instructional program, all of which we will cover tonight in some detail. And while I believe that the plan that you received covers most of the questions that you might have, I'm sure there are numerous processes and protocols that are going to be site specific. So I want to beg you to be a little bit patient with our principals as they reach out to you in the coming couple of weeks following fall break in order to outline what those site specific protocols might be in terms of things like coming onto campus and leaving the campus. All of our school sites are set up just a little bit differently. So I'm going to leave that to them to convey the site specific processes that they have for you. I know that we have a lot to cover and you have a lot of questions that hopefully will be answered this evening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over back to Ms. Wolowitz and just once again, thank everybody for your patience and the grace that you've shown the district in serving your kids and the patience while we work through this and get ready to bring your kids back to school. So with that, Ms. Wolowitz, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rice. Here is a list of some of the staff members that will be joining us this evening to share their areas of expertise in the safety plan that will be put into place for our return to in-person learning on November 30th. We're going to go ahead and start with our Business Services Department and Mr. Reynolds, if you wouldn't mind giving us a start with health and safety protocols, please.
Mr. Reynolds, you are muted. Sorry.
Thank you, Marianne. And thank you, Ms. Wolowitz, for putting the slides together. My name is Eric Reynolds. This evening, I'll be going over the health and safety protocols for when we return on November 30th. So there will be signage, supplies, and protective equipment at all the sites. Supplies have been sent already and will continue to be sent to all the sites as needed. I'll go over the list of items that have been sent and will be present when your children return. So we have plexiglass partitions, both in the offices, in the assessment areas, in the classrooms where social distancing cannot be maintained. We have social distancing markers and directional tape will be put down. Again, as Dr. Rice mentioned, it'll be a little bit different for every site, but that will probably be in the classrooms and the hallways to maintain the social distancing and directional pathways. The stickers will be on the signs and doors, not just for social distancing, but also for health and safety. Hand washing supplies and hand sanitizer are out at each site, both in the soap for the restrooms and hand sanitizer in dispensers in each classroom. We have thermometers that we can use for screening. Cleaning and disinfecting supplies will not only be used by staff, but there's also extra supplies that will be in each classroom in case a teacher wants to clean a specific area. Plenty of gloves that'll be used with the disinfectant. And we also will have masks or face coverings as needed. Probably another slide will say this later, but we're requesting that students and staff all wear and bring their own face coverings and an extra in case one gets dirty or lost. But there will be extras available to any students or staff that may happen to forget theirs that day. So let's talk a little bit about the masks and personal protective equipment and expectations. So students and staff are expected to maintain wearing their face covering over their mouth and their nose per the California state ordinance while waiting to come onto campus, while on the school grounds, while entering and exiting from school, and for waiting for the bus if they take the bus to or from school. Like I just mentioned, they have to be worn properly over the mouth and nose. We've had a lot of questions regarding what happens if a student can't or doesn't want to wear a mask. So basically, masks are going to be required for everybody's safety. If a student or family does not want to wear a mask to school or is found to be consistently non-compliant, they do have the option of the 100% distance learning method for learning. Okay, when it comes to parents, guardian, and visitors, as Dr. Rice mentioned, each site will be a little bit different when it comes to entering and exiting campuses, and each principal is working on their plan for their respective site at this time. They'll definitely be in touch with you on which gate they'd like your student to enter and exit the campus from. Some sites will have multiple entrances, and some of the entrances will be specifically designated for certain grades. Non-essential visitors will not be allowed on campus. Again, this is for everybody's safety, for social distancing, and for possible tracking and tracing should we need to do that. And again, we'll have designated locations where the students will be dropped off and picked up.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I would like to introduce our Director of Transportation to go over the health and safety protocols on our buses.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Excited to be here tonight. First, I want to let you know that my bus drivers are super excited to start driving around your children again. They have been very excited to do that, kind of jealous of the teachers that they've already at least started seeing their faces on Zoom. So this is an exciting thing for my drivers. A few things, Eric kind of mentioned it a little bit, but first of all, on the slide here, it says limited buses will be available for students who choose the hybrid model. So what that means is, for those that don't know, we are required to provide transportation to students who have that listed in an IEP or an individual education plan. And as of right now, we don't know how many students are going to be returning back to school. And because of social distancing, our buses may not be able to hold all of those children. And so once we get a list of all the children that have transportation required in their IEP, and we know who wants to ride the buses, then we can divvy up our bus drivers and buses and figure out how many buses that we can put towards general education. So right now, we don't know how many buses can be out there, but it will be, we think that a lot of it will be available. We're just not sure exactly how many right now. So some of the guidelines that we are going to enforce on the buses to maximize the safety. Number one is masks, like Eric talked about. All children will need a mask before they get on the bus, and our bus drivers will have extra masks should a child forget their mask. Also, school personnel will not be present at the bus stops. So we will not have people there to monitor the children, and we are asking for any parents or older siblings that may be taking the younger children to the bus, that they can monitor the bus stops and they can help try to keep the children socially distanced, try to keep them with their masks on. Especially at the beginning, there may be a lot of children that aren't used to wearing their masks and may need reminders. And so we're asking that the public can help with that. A few things that aren't on the slide that I would like to bring up is that we will be driving on the bus with the windows open, and that helps to circulate the air. So obviously that will be weather permitting. So even if it's cold weather, we'll probably have the windows down. So your children should take coats or sweaters because it may be cool. If it's raining, we probably won't have the windows down, but cool weather we will. The buses will be disinfected daily with the same chemical that they're using in the schools that are safe, and will be disinfected daily. The children will be sitting one child per seat, and to help with social distancing. The only exception will be that if the children They can sit with a sibling or other children that may live in their same household. They will be permitted to sit together. A lot of people ask about hand sanitizer, and which seems like, sorry about that, which seems like that would be a great idea. And the problem with hand sanitizer is that it is flammable because of the alcohol in there, and it is not allowed per the California Highway Patrol to be on the buses. So we will not have hand sanitizer on the buses. And then one other thing we need to bring up is that we haven't talked about it yet, but later on we're going to talk about staggered times that the children will get out of school. And there's about a 10-minute break in between when children get out of school. So it doesn't give the bus enough time to take group number 1 that gets out, take them to their stops, and come back to pick up group number 2. So the bus will be on site and pick up the kids about a little bit before the last group gets off, and then leave with all 3 groups on the same bus at one time. So that's important for everybody to know, that the bus will not be doing multiple trips. It's just one trip. So that is what I have for transportation.
Thank you so much. And next we will continue to talk about health and safety protocols. And I would like to introduce the Coordinator of Health Services, our registered nurse, Anne-Marie Biddlemeyer.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. What we'll be discussing right now are basically what we need your help with. We need you to please take a look at your child every single day as they're coming back to in-person instruction when they come onto our campuses. And we're asking you to do a daily wellness check of your child, or work with them if they're older and they can, do it for themselves if, you're working with a 4th or 5th grader. And so basically some of the things you're looking for are, taking their temperature every single day and looking at what that temperature reading is. If you have access to a no-touch thermometer, anything above or anything at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, they do need to stay home that day. And if you're using a touch thermometer, that could be an ear, a forehead, a temporal thermometer, an oral under your tongue thermometer, anything at 100.4 and higher, they need to stay home. As well as, we need to ask ourselves, you ask yourself of your child or these questions. Have you had a known exposure to a confirmed COVID positive case in the last basically 2 weeks? Has your child experienced shortness of breath, a cough, any COVID-like symptoms? And the most current ones, of course, are always going to be at CDC, and we will constantly update our documents to show the most current ones we're looking for. But basically sore throat, cough, the runs, any type of severe headache, chills, again, shortness of breath and difficulty breathing. And this is not, a kiddo who experiences asthma per se. So basically, if your kiddo cannot attend school because they are ill or having any of these type of symptoms, contact your school. Sorry. Contact your school to let them know what's going on, and that you're going to be keeping your child home due to any type of illness or malaise, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome.
Now I would like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Rebecca Chandler, who will do our next slide.
Hello, thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to discuss implementing physical distancing. On campuses, students will be divided into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. This will allow us to socially distance the children on campus, and you will see that later in the scheduling. We will also be using multiple entry points, and this will be done so that students won't cross over, like you see this at the grocery stores and other places we go, so they're not crossing each other. And then school entrances are going to be staffed to enforce the physical distancing like we are all very familiar with in the grocery stores and other places we go these days. There will be floor markers and directionals to help them stay 6 feet apart. And each campus will have a care room, which is abbreviation for COVID appraisal, response, and evaluation. And this is where we're going to hold children while we're evaluating them to be sent home to keep them separated from kids who are there just for typical, owies like skin knees and whatnot. And next, we are going to have Bill Elsenbaumer, the Director of Facilities. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Rebecca, and good evening, everyone. We're going to be talking about facility ventilation, cleaning, and disinfecting. And at this point, all of our school sites, all our elementaries right now are being tested for the heating and cooling systems to be sure all the ventilation systems are working properly. Any repairs are being made, they're being cleaned, they're being inspected thoroughly. Thermostats are being replaced where needed so that they can be scheduled to run on their own with fresh air, fans only, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 12 hours a day to continuously bring fresh air into the classrooms. All our filters are being changed on a continuous, regular 3-month schedule. We have a outside contractor testing all of our systems. They're actually putting ribbons on our air grills that will show teachers and staff that the air is moving, which will help us report if a system stops running. The heater and air conditioning systems will still run independently of the fan. The fan will run at all times. If you need AC, it'll still run with that. If you need heat, it'll still run with that. All of our classrooms are independently ventilated, so they are not connected to each other. So each classroom has its own fresh air makeup. The rooms are designed by engineers that follow the ASHRA, American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning standards to make sure there's fresh air in the rooms, designed with the windows and doors closed. Rebecca, would you like me to go right into the cleaning or?
Sure. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Our next step is facility cleaning, disinfecting protocols. All of our schools.
Hold on 1 second, Bill. Sorry, we have
Okay.
the hand washing and restrooms. Or do you want to go back here? Let's go back here. I think Gina just jumped ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. High touch classroom surfaces will be disinfected nightly, such as desks, door handles, light switches, etc., faucets, anything in the room. That goes as well for the bathrooms, which will be done throughout the day at periodic times and thoroughly cleaned in the evenings. Teachers' lounges, kitchens as well. We have all the drinking fountains will be turned off at the school. They will be taped off and covered up so that it doesn't encourage kids wanting to use those. But we have hydration stations that are bottle fill stations in every one of our sites. They're in the cafeterias, and some of them have multiple hydration stations depending on the site. Every classroom has been deep cleaned, as I start to say. Classroom furniture is being rearranged in the rooms to create the 6-foot distance. We have a team of our personnel going out and doing that. They're moving some furniture out of the rooms as needed to make sure we have the social distance clearance.
Thank you, Bill. I think we can go to the next slide. All right. Hand washing. This is very important. One of the most effective ways to not spread the bacteria or to not spread COVID. Students, we ask that they wash their hands before they come to school. And also, if you have hand sanitizer, that would be great as well. Each classroom will have their own hand sanitizer dispenser mounted to the wall. And additionally, they have their own sinks for washing hands as well. Our restrooms, they will be cleaned on a regular basis throughout the day, multiple times. And we are going to ask that all students continue to wear their masks in the restroom. Yes, and so the high touch areas like the restrooms and other countertops, well, countertops where lots of people are coming and going, will be cleaned multiple times a day. Thanks, Gina. Eric, did you want to speak to this?
Sure, I can take this one. Thank you. Okay, so what are we going to do to prevent cases of COVID? So when there is a positive test, students on home quarantine will be provided with distance learning options so they can continue to learn. Ventura County Public Health and VUSD staff and our families will be notified of a positive case while maintaining confidentiality as required by state and federal laws. So if the case is a staff member or from a student or anyone else on campus, both parents and staff of that site will be notified. Obviously, the person who did test positive cannot be identified in either name or position. Anybody who, if we do have a case, we'll do tracking and tracing, myself and the Health Services Department. And anybody who we feel could be a potential close contact will be contacted directly to obtain information on any additional steps that those folks might need to take. Then in addition, with Ventura County Public Health and per CDC guidelines, any area where the person occupied, where the person who tested positive for the virus, that will be evacuated, cleaned, and disinfected per CDC guidelines. And then either myself or Ms. Bidlingmeyer, who was on the presentation earlier, are the district liaisons to Ventura County Public Health, and we will be in contact with them as needed, and or they will be contacting us for any additional follow-up and additional actions.
I just have one quick comment to add. We do have a health tech will be at each campus, each of the elementary school campuses throughout the entire day. And we have additional district liaisons that are helping assist in all the tracking and testing and everything else. Thank you. Next slide.
Anything else you wanted to add on this one?
I think we're okay, Eric. Yeah.
Okay, I will go ahead and start talking about the learning plans. My name is Gina Wolowitz, and I am the Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction. And so I wanted to explain to you a little bit about the learning plans and what you can expect when we return to in-person learning on November 30th. So there will be two options that will be available to students and families. One is the hybrid in-person learning, and that is going to look different. The classrooms will be physically distanced in the classrooms, and so you are not going to see what you would traditionally see in an elementary classroom where there are many desks and all right next to each other. You're going to see desks that are socially distanced from one another. You may also see a desk that is alongside another desk that might have some blue tape on it marking that physical social distance space to allow students to maintain that physical distance while they're in the classroom. So for that reason of maintaining a physical distance amongst each other, we will be splitting students into two groups, the A group and the B group, to allow for a limited number of students in the classroom so that they can safely be learning on campus and in person. So groups will come to school on different days. There will also be, as mentioned before, staggered entrances and exits. And so there may be the times that are listed here as the schedule. There may be some slight adjustments to that schedule to allow for safe entrance and dismissal at the schools. So students are going to be in person and on campus for 2 days a week. So they will be in class and for 2 days a week, and then the other 3 days a week, they will continue to be working in Canvas and Seesaw, and they will receive virtual lessons on those other 3 days when they are not in person. So for example, if I have a student who is a first grader and they are in the A group, my child will attend school as a first grader in the A group from 8 to 11:20 on Monday and Tuesday. They will be in school in class. On Wednesday, we will continue to maintain our social emotional learning with all students at all grade levels. And then on Thursday and Friday, my child who is a first grader in the A group will be in an afternoon online virtual class. And so they will receive live teaching from the same classroom teacher that they were in person with on Monday and Tuesday. They will receive a live lesson from that classroom teacher or another grade level teacher in the afternoon. And then they will be doing much of their work on Thursday and Friday in a virtual setting. So they will be working in Canvas and Seesaw. They may be working in a workbook. They may be reading a book, watching some learning videos, and that's what their learning online may look like when they're not live and in person. We will, once you register for schools later on in this presentation, we have a timeline of when things will happen, but students and families will be notified prior to the return date of which group they will be attending so that you are able to plan for which day you will be attending school. In addition to these timeframes of when you will be doing in-person or distance learning, virtual lessons with your children, you may be asked by the teacher to attend some additional small or targeted group sessions to meet the learning needs for your child. And then in addition, students who are in combination classrooms might see slight variations to these schedules as well. And we will try to keep them as slight as possible. So this is the hybrid schedule where students are on campus and in person 2 days a week, and then the other days learning virtually. The other model is the distance learning model, and that is the 100% learning, and that would be a complete continuance online with Canvas and Seesaw as the main learning platforms. So continuing to work in a very similar fashion with some added enhancements. As you know, in this model, learning is teacher directed and is supported by the families at home. Again, in this model, you will receive daily live instruction. It will just be in a virtual format. And then as you're experiencing currently, that live instruction would be enhanced with activities online, maybe some video making, some doing some work in their workbooks, different activities at home. And so there is an enhancement to the 100% distance learning schedule as it currently shows here, that we are encouraging students to attend both of these sessions so that teachers are able to provide more access to content in a live format, live virtual format. And in addition, similar to the hybrid model, in addition to these times listed here, there may be students who are asked by the teacher to attend additional targeted or small group sessions to meet their learning needs that they have. And as well as you may see combination classrooms having a slight variance. While students are on campus, they will have a recess break as well. And later in the slideshow, we'll also be talking about access to food and how that will look while they're on campus. We are asking that you look through this information and make a decision for the remainder of the school year. With the time frame, as you'll see ahead, with the timeline presentation, you will see that it is not a possibility for us to make significant changes with the time frame that we have. And so we are asking families to commit to their choice for the remainder of the school year. understanding that if there is some unforeseen circumstance that happens in your family's life that necessitates a change, that you can reach out to the school, and we will work with the families where space is available to provide options. And next, I would like to introduce Kara Muniz, if she would like to speak to, get you to the right slide, Kara.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to let you know what services Food and Nutrition will provide. I'm excited to announce that USDA allowed for a waiver for the district to provide free meals for all children 18 and under for the entire school year. Meals currently are offered on Mondays from 11:30 to 1, and we will continue to do that through the week of November 23rd. Then after the week of November 23rd, we will be changing meal pickup day to Wednesday. That begins on December 7th. That would be from 11:30 to 1 at any of the 17 elementary sites in the district. We do offer a drive-through or walk-up service, and you will on Wednesdays either pick up 3 meal days for those that are doing the hybrid learning, or we will also have 5-day meal packs for those who are doing the full distance learning. So we look forward to continue serving meals through this new education. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce the Executive Director of Special Education Services, Marcus Konantz.
Good evening, everyone. In order to continue to ensure health and safety for all, students with disabilities will be expected to adhere to the guidelines previously outlined. This includes maintaining physical distancing and following safe practices as much as possible. Students who are deaf or hard of hearing will be required to wear a clear face mask or face shield, and students who are exempt from wearing either a face covering or face shield due to medical reasons or a disability will be permitted to be on campus only if alternative control measures can adequately provide a reasonable level of protection for other students and employees. Distance learning continues to be available to all families, and this can also be available in situations where adequate and reasonable alternative control measures may be unavailable. With respect to our planned procedures for IEP meetings, related services, and assessments, our IEP meetings will continue to be conducted remotely. Related services providers will make every effort to provide services outside of direct instructional time. There may be times, however, where this is not possible and students will receive therapy during instructional time. Occupational therapy and physical therapy may require additional planning regarding how to provide these services within public health guidelines. And to our early intervention center families, all of the aforementioned safety protections and considerations apply to your children as well. More detailed information specific to EIC will be coming to you directly from your EIC location this week.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to introduce Greg Bayless to present the next slide.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wallowitz. Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Bayless. I'm the Director for Secondary Curriculum Instruction, and it's my pleasure to speak to a few things. First is the mental health program that we currently have and that will continue for all distance learning students who choose to stay on that program. And that primarily consists of our social emotional Wednesdays that include relationship building activities, et cetera. But obviously, we're very excited about the ability to support our students' social emotional growth when they return to school in new and improved ways. So we are obviously very committed to providing the ongoing mental health to support our students through our SAP counselors, our student assistance program counselors, psychologists, et cetera. But I think what I want to speak to and we're most excited about is the many small groups, the many in-person small groups that are launching in November. And this will happen both at the secondary level and at the elementary level prior to elementary reopening. And these small groups will be constructed in many different ways by teachers, by counselors, and they'll be used for academic intervention, for course-specific work, ASB, et cetera. So it's just going to improve and enhance our ability to support our students' overall mental health, which we're very excited about. And now I want to outline the timeline that we are on and speak to a few things that I think might be helpful for everybody. First and foremost, we are looking at the target date of November 30th, and that is to open our elementary programs, which we're talking about tonight. But it's important to note that we are looking to open as many other secondary programs and sites that we can based on our current protocols and the construction of each site. So for example, we're looking at opening up the middle school grades of Sunset grades 6 through 8. We're also exploring ways to open El Camino, our middle college at the high school level, also Pacific High School, and middle school opportunity program. So whether or not those other programs, including EIC, our Early Intervention Center, and Jumpstart open on the 30th, we're working on those in good faith alongside all the efforts to open up elementary. So working backwards a little bit, as you can see tonight, we are here, October 22nd, between 5:30 and 7, having our parent webinar, and you just have received the online registration for distance learning or hybrid. And for those other programs that we are looking at reopening in the secondary realm, Sunset grades 6 through 8 also received this same choice. So parents of Sunset 6 through 8 graders, that registration link is in your email. And for El Camino and Pacific high schools, we will be getting out that information through the principals, through the sites shortly, most likely tomorrow. So that registration period will go on through to November 2nd. And then at that point, we will begin cleaning up any data that we feel is missing in order for us to then master schedule there in that week, November 19th through the 9th through the 13th. And master scheduling just means that we will be trying first and foremost, to keep elementary students with their current teachers. Now, we know that might not be possible based on the number of students that decide to stay on distance learning at any given site, but that's our first and foremost goal. So I will be working with Ms. Wallowitz and with all of the elementary school principals to master schedule those in a way that can offer program confirmations, either distance and hybrid, sent home to families the week of the 16th through the 20th. And I do just briefly want to speak to what Ms. Wallowitz spoke to earlier, and that this district, we're very pleased to be able to offer the choice to our parents, as was promised by our district, to stay on distance learning or to transition into hybrid. We are not able to guarantee that we're going to be able to offer another point of choice later on in the year, but as Ms. Wallowitz said, certainly those kinds of requests can be made, and we'll be able to accommodate families possibly based on site-specific availability. But one of the primary reasons why we can't continue to offer points of choice for the entire district is that, again, getting to wanting to keep students with their teachers. And if we were to master schedule once again, we would have to change teachers once again. And that's something that we really want to try to avoid. So that's our rough timeline. And just again, want to draw your attention to this window that we are now in, whereby all of you parents have an online registration link in your emails so that you can select distance learning or hybrid. You can select A or B to Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. And you can indicate whether or not transportation is a request of yours. So thank you very much. Gina, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you so much. As I transition to the next slide, I know that there was something that we wanted to add about food nutrition services. Kara?
Thank you. I apologize for that. I wanted to make sure families were aware that we will also serve meals on campus to students that are attending either the A or B schedule. We will be offering a sack breakfast at recess and also a sack lunch to go. And again, that's free for all families. So just wanted to make sure families were aware we will serve on campus as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So before we end this evening, I wanted to be sure that you have on hand these resources. We have transitioned some of our websites to allow the most current information available. And so those are here, as well as the elementary school in-person learning and safety plan that you received this evening, and additional resources on our website. And so we wanted to be sure that you had all these links, as well as if we were unable to answer any of your questions this evening, we wanted to be sure that you knew how you could get those questions answered. And we have an email set up for that. If you would like to email us, it would go to greatideas, don't forget that S on there, at venturausd.org. I am going to pass it back to Ms. Quiros to see if there is anything that I have left unresolved.
I don't believe so. I will pass it over to Dr. Rice in just a moment, but again, please check your emails and Parent Square this evening. We did send this information out that way. If for some reason you did not receive that, you can go to our VUSD Facebook page, where we have put up a message this evening with a link to our communications page that has a copy of that communication, as well as this presentation and our plans that we sent out this evening. And tomorrow we'll also have a recording of this webinar. Tomorrow we'll send out another email to all of our families, along with the recording and some updates and reminders about fall break for next week. Dr. Rice?
Thank you, Ms. Quiros, and I really appreciate the presentation, Ms. Wallowitz. Excellent job. But I did want to clarify just a couple items. We are a little bit early, and I know we don't have capacity to allow 827 participants to ask a lot of questions in this particular format, but there are some things that I think that they might be interested in that we could clarify in the few minutes that we have left. So one is, Dr. Bayless, you talked a little bit about the small group supports, services, and activities. I'm very excited about those. I know that those opportunities have been posted to the school sites to get interested teachers to sign up to provide those services. What I would like is if one of you could talk to the issue of how will parents learn about the services that are available through those small groups, and then how do you see them signing up for those opportunities?
Sure, my pleasure, Dr. Rice. The small group initiative has just begun, that we're able to launch after the October 21st change in our county's tier identification. So our teachers right now are making proposals to their principals, and we have a wide variety of proposals. We're upward of 40 proposals at the secondary sites district-wide, and many proposals at the elementary as well. And each proposal is a little bit different, but here's some global themes, and here's how you might learn about them. They're targeted towards students in need of support, students that may be struggling, in particular in this distance learning environment. And so some of them have to do with being identified as an English learner. Some of them are grade specific, or they are course specific for students, for example, enrolled in English 12 and are struggling to pass and are in danger of not graduating. So in all those cases, the counseling department, the principal, and the teacher will work together to reach out to those specific targeted students. There are some small groups that will be open for sort of a come one, come all. We don't have the capacity perhaps to take every student that asks to join or participate in the group, but nonetheless, in those cases, it'll be put broadly out to the school, and there'll be a sign-up mechanism that it will be site-specific. So I think we'll have two ways that that parents will learn about small group opportunities. One, a targeted specific invitation coming from the teacher, from the counselor, or from the principal, or through a broad Parent Square invitation to sign up.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bayless. I appreciate that. And I know there's a especially strong interest in providing support for our English learners, for students who are struggling academically, whose grades may have suffered and who may be in need of some academic intervention and support to get them caught up. Right. So that's something that's a priority.
That's correct. We have prioritized academic interventions for struggling students. That's not to say that we don't have many other academic opportunities for students who may not be struggling and non-academic opportunities. So again, counselors have the ability to propose groups for social emotional learning or for conversation or socialization, all those things. But principals have been asked first and foremost to prioritize the small group proposals coming through for struggling students.
Thank you, Dr. Bayless. I'm really excited about that. And for our parents and community members on the call, I just want to share with you that although the breadth of those offerings is new, the process is not. We have had several small groups operating in the district for a number of weeks and operating very successfully. I want to take my hat off and give kudos to the district athletic directors and coaches who have been running athletic small groups that were allowed back in August. I think it was August 3rd that those groups received approval to start. And they've been running for at least 4 to 6 weeks in the neighborhood of that amount of time safely and doing a wonderful job at cleaning and social distancing and mask wearing. And so we have a track record of success running these groups safely. So I wanted to just shout out to those folks running those programs. They're doing a great job. I know we also are running a robotics program at Cabrillo, and we're starting some music programs as we speak. So I really appreciate the teachers and the coaches stepping up and working with those kids in small groups and getting them back active. But more, I appreciate how rigorously they're working to keep them safe in that process, and that will continue. Also, I wanted to ask you about, I wanted to hit on the changing teachers because I have been asked numerous times about a generalized sense of fear or anxiety that when you talk about master scheduling and teachers expressing their preference for their assignment and kids expressing their preference for their assignment, that there's this idea out there that everybody goes into a pot and then everything gets scrambled up and they get new assignments. I want to be sure to convey very clearly, and Dr. Bayless, if you could help me with this, that is not the default. The default is if everybody says they're going back to in-person hybrid learning, everybody stays right where they are. The only adjustments we'll be making is for those students who request distance learning, those teachers who request distance learning, and then after we accommodate those requests to the degree we can, there might be a little cleanup on the back end if class sizes get really small and something needs to get combined. But by and large, the default is to keep kids with their teachers. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And I hope this will ease some concerns. It causes me a little bit of concern, but to say that it's not going to be an automated process. It's not something that we put into a computer and push a button. There is no such process. So we are really going to be in a room, socially distanced with all the elementary principals, with current rosters of students, with current teachers, and then looking at what parents have asked for. And then we're going to try to preserve the current set of rosters as much as possible. And again, it's all going to be done live, manually, with all of the principals and my eyes and Ms. Walowitz's eyes on it. So good news for everybody else. It's not going to be manual, or excuse me, not going to be automated. It'll all be manual with lots of eyes on it.
And Dr. Bayless, if you don't mind, if I could add, as school employees, we recognize, understand, and value the relationships that your children and have made with their teacher and the relationship that you've established with the teachers. And so whenever possible, we absolutely want to allow that relationship to continue for the school year.
Thank you, Ms. Walowitz. Just a couple other items. One is we didn't cover this item, but I know it's important to our employees and also to our community that the folks in charge of your students, the teachers and support staff are all healthy and COVID-free, and that we provide as a district the support to make sure that's happening. Anne Marie, Ms. Bidlingmeyer, or Eric Reynolds, if you would like to jump in and address this. My understanding is that the current requirement is to test 25% of our employees every couple of weeks, and that we're in the process of working with our bargaining units to work out the details. My information also is that there's plenty of capacity through the Ventura County Public Health local testing center that's currently housed out at the fairgrounds to serve all districts and all teachers, and that process will be in place to ensure that the health of our employees. Would anybody like to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add just a couple of comments, Dr. Rice. Thank you. Correct. So the current requirement is from Ventura County Public Health Department is to test all of our employees every other month. So that does equate to about a quarter every 2 weeks. Peter Aguirre, a retired principal, has been retained by the district. He and I met earlier this week, and we are formatting a plan in which employees will be notified on what the process is. And so we're going to be getting together real soon, and we'll get all the details ironed out, and people will be notified about that.
Thank you, Eric. I think that support and that service for our employees in our community will go a long way to helping people feel that we're taking stock of the health of our workforce and protecting their interests as they interact with our students. Also, there was a comment made earlier about the bus stops and not having student personnel at the bus stops. And it was clarified to me that each bus could have as many as 10 stops, Mr. Weiberg. And so the number of stops would preclude us from having a person standing there waiting. But we are working on a plan to have somebody riding the bus with the bus driver. My understanding is so that they can get out of the bus when it stops and help the students and parents who are there to socially distance and load the bus in an orderly and safe fashion. Is that also correct?
Yes, that's correct. We probably have between 100 and 200 bus stops. So to staff that with staff would just be too much. So yeah, that's why we're relying on the parents, and we are looking into getting an aide on the bus to help out.
And if I could just add, so the aide would help keep those kids socially distanced, make sure masks were being worn, make sure windows and airflow was properly adjusted in there. And then if we, did have anybody who came on sick, we could also make sure that student was separated from the rest of the students to keep as much distance as possible.
Okay, and I just have two more quick things. One is we had spoken earlier about the self-screening and wellness check for our students at home before they come to school. And I believe, Anne Marie, you had said that it was recommended to take their temperature, and I just want to make sure that there could be a backup plan in place for those families who do not have access to like a thermometer or a touchless thermometer, and if we could somehow put in place a process for them to request that of their principals and make those available.
Yes, I'm sorry. So at every site, at the entry point, there will be a no-touch thermometer that a family or a student can utilize with the cleaning supplies right there. So it could be, cleansed, disinfected between uses. So if you do not have access to one, there will be one at each site, more than one actually at each site, but definitely at each entry point, and then upon entry into like the main office as well.
Okay, thank you. I know I took a few minutes extra, but I'm just running through my brain all of the many questions that have been asked. I really appreciate the members of the public who have been emailing me, writing me, texting me, and just trying to get their questions answered. We certainly want to do and will do everything possible to keep your students and our staffs safe as we move into this new instructional program offering. I know that our staff takes it extremely seriously. The conversations we have are long and robust, and we're not going to take shortcuts. In fact, Eric, I don't know if you want to address this, but I also understand that we will have a retiree working with you out of your office, but primarily assigned to monitor the sites and visit the sites to ensure safety protocols are being followed, and that if there are concerns or issues or needs like more masks at a site, or more thermometers, or more sanitizer, or people aren't socially distancing, or there's a concern at recess, or the restroom didn't get cleaned, that there is someone whose job it will be to work with you to make sure that the employees, the parents, all have a voice, and that they have somewhere to go to express those concerns in a safe way, so that we can address them quickly and efficiently. Do you want to say anything about that, Eric?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rice. That's correct. Jim Nielsen, another retired principal at several districts in our county, is on board now. He currently helps mentor our principals, and I've already met with him. I'm going to be meeting with him again tomorrow. Basically, his purpose will be kind of as you described. I want to make it clear that there's not going to be a shortage of masks or PPE or sanitizer. He's not going to need to be running them out to sites. We have a distribution process in place now. Our first project with Mr. Nielsen is he's going to be meeting with all the principals to make sure they're ready to go and to see if there's anything that they need that we can help them with. And then as we get rolling, you're absolutely correct. Any parent complaints, staff complaints about non-compliance of rules, he and I will brainstorm on that, and we will address it with all the parties involved, and just try to move forward so that all the rules can be followed smoothly and efficiently.
Thank you, Eric. I just wanted to make that point, that we all take the safety of our employees and our students extremely seriously, and we're investing in someone to help us make sure that happens on a regular basis every day. And with that, again, I want to thank everybody for being here this evening, and I want to take just 2 seconds to call out Dr. Dannenberg, who joined us after we did the initial introductions. Dr. Dannenberg, would you like to wave and say hello to the folks in the community this evening? Okay, he waved. Did we have Ms. Lomax or Ms. Moran jump on the call during the interim?
No, we did not.
No? Okay, again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve your kids in our district, and we also appreciate your patience and grace as we work through this extremely serious opportunity to get back to serving your kids in person. Ms. Quiros?
And just as a reminder, our presentation slides for this evening, our plan both in English and in Spanish, our link to our district distance learning webpage, as well as our hybrid webpage, are all now on our VUSD homepage at www.venturausd.org, and they're on our VUSD Facebook page. So please go there. If you did not get the email this evening, please make sure you reach out to your school so that we ensure that we have all of your contact information updated. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you, everyone.